Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. You steady your nerves. Then you reach out with trembling hands and you begin to undo the buttons which run down the front of the princess's nightgown. You work as quickly as you are able, which, given how badly your hands are shaking, is not very. You fumble with a couple of the buttons, flinching as you do so. The princess, however, seems blissfully unaware of what it is exactly you are doing, or not doing, for your fingers have begun to seize up with the front of her nightgown. She is not even looking at you. Instead, her gaze is directed beyond your shoulder to the windowsill and the sky beyond it. It isn't particularly sunny, but I don't think it's too cold outside. Going for a walk might not be a bad idea. What do you think, dear one? You think that you would like to finish undressing the princess as soon as possible, so you can make some progress on dressing her again. The sight of all of this exposed skin is bad for your heart. Fortunately, you are able to make quick work of the princess's nightgown, despite your initial mishaps, spurred on perhaps by your anxiety. You bid the princess to stand, which she does, and neatly she steps out of her nightgown, her motions once again as graceful and as fluid as a dancer's. This task completed, you search hurriedly, worriedly for the princess's red dress. Where is it? You cannot find it. Sweat begins to prickle on the back of your neck. Your palms, meanwhile, feel uncomfortably clammy. The moments pass awkwardly, uneasily as you search, the princess standing there all the while as naked as the day she was born. Why did you not find her day dress before you stripped her of the night one? What a fool you are. The princess, noting your panic, giggles and says, "Are you looking for my dress?" "Yes," you reply, your face flushed. "That is what you are doing." "I thought so. I did wonder. Before you started undressing me, why you'd not asked where it was. Maybe it slipped your mind?" It had slipped your mind, yes, to your shame. You were too busy trying not to fixate upon the princess's bared skin, to think about how best to conceal it. "My dress is in my armoire," the princess says, glancing over to the aforementioned piece of furniture. The armoire of hers is an intricately carved wooden structure, large enough, or so you estimate, to fit inside it enough dresses to attire a whole ballroom's worth of princesses. "I'd like to wear the red one. It's my favorite. Would you be a dear and fetch it for me? I don't want to rush you, but it is rather cold in here, especially while I'm still naked." She raises a good point. You turn away from the princess and make your way to her armoire. Once there, you open its wooden doors and peruse the clothes hanging within. It is just as you expected. Inside that wardrobe lies numerous dresses, all of them finely sewn and decorated with no shortage of ribbons, lace, and iridescent pearls. You find the princess's red dress soon enough, then hurry to her side. With your spoils in hand, you hurry to dress her, concealing once again the princess's pale skin beneath layers upon layers of soft red velvet. She is easier to look at now, you think, with her skin concealed. That might have been the most nerve-wracking task you have ever had to accomplish, even more so than your Paris escape through the foggy forest. Why, it seems a small miracle you can still remember how to breathe. Ah, that's much better. Thank you, dear one, for your help. You've not been here for a full day, but I already wonder what I'd do without you. Shyly, you assure the princess that you did nothing, really, nothing beyond your job. You did not do anything incredible, and in any case, being complimented by somebody so pretty is embarrassing. Ah, don't be like that. I want to compliment you. Why shouldn't I? When you've been so helpful, it'd be rude not to in any way. I think you're very pretty, too. Oh my. Your face flushes from this more deeply than ever before. You ought to count yourself lucky, really. What with all of this excessive blushing that the princess did not seem to possess any vampiristic tendencies, you are making yourself quite the easy target. Now, the princess declares, why don't we go for a walk? It is a nice enough day, and I get so very bored of being cooped up inside. You can't think of any particular objections to raise to this remark, and you think that the princess might have a point. The castle, though expansive, is somewhat stifling. The walls are so very thick, and they put you in the mind of a crypt. With your acquiescence assured, the princess quits her chamber, her posture elegant and her gait unhurried. She seems not to walk as she navigates her way through the seemingly endless hallways of her home, but to float like a cloud. The hem of her dress swishes around her legs, and her hair shifts like a shroud. The castle's courtyard, meanwhile, is sadly lacking in comparison to the princess's beauty. The courtyard is fenced in by the castle's walls, which look, in the stark midday light, tall and imposing, faceless soldiers standing sentinel. Though the sun is out, it is not particularly bright, and neither is it particularly warm. The courtyard itself, meanwhile, is in a state of disarray. The flower beds are in shambles, all overgrown with weeds. It is all rather depressing. The princess's castle might be grand in scale, but the courtyard itself is simple, hemmed in to a claustrophobic degree, like a coffin. The princess, however, seems not to share your dolorous mood. She instead looks elated by her newfound surroundings, her smile unwavering. She gambols about like a lamb, flitting hither and thither as she examines the weed-infested flower beds. Her frolicking comes to a cease, however, by a bush. One is full of bright red roses. Oh, how very pretty. Do you not think they are gorgeous, dear one? The flowers are not too disappointing, you suppose? They make for a fine spectacle. In fact, a welcome splash of color when contrasted with the dullness and the drabness which permeates the rest of the courtyard. Though the other flowers in their beds are wilted, withered things, it is not so for these roses. They are a rich, bright red, just like blood, their heads so full they seem almost to droop beneath the weight of their own engorged petals. They are pretty, in a sense, but there is something unsettling about them too, something that is almost obscene. How did those roses become so very red? What has been sustaining them? Could it be possible that these roses have been draining the life from the other flowers which are struggling to grow within this garden? It is a fanciful thought, but... oh, they are simply divine. Looking at these roses always lifts my spirit. They really are my most favorite flowers. I simply must pick some of them. Perhaps I can use them to decorate my bedchamber. It could use a bit of color. The princess reaches out so as to pluck one of the roses, free from its resting place amongst its brethren. You watch her, your breath bated, anxious at this gesture might result in perforated flesh and bright red blood. But the princess is not as clumsy as you fear. Of course she is not. Who did you think she was? You? Rather than worrying about other people, you would be better served if you worried more about yourself. The princess holds her newly pilfered rose to her nose and inhales, her eyelids falling shut as the flower's sweet scent washes over her. A few moments of silence pass. Then the princess begins to toy with the petals, which adorn the flower's crown. Now, let me see. I wonder what fate has in store for me. She loves me. The princess plucks a petal from the flower's overburdened head. She loves me not. The princess continues with this childish incantation, all the while stripping her rose slowly and methodically of its petals. These petals flutter about the princess like bloody snow. The princess's voice, meanwhile, echoes through the courtyard, even more melodic than the strains of the pionala. She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. She loves me not. The princess's fingers hover over the final petal which crowns her nearly denuded flower. Then, with a triumphant smile, she declares, "She loves me! I knew it!" You watch the princess amused by her girlish good cheer. The little mantra that she has been reciting is one that you are familiar with. The girls at the conservatoire also used to engage in this little game, the younger ones at least, who believed that a fairy tale prince would whisk them away. You might have participated in this game yourself when you were a child, but you never pinned your hopes and dreams on a handsome prince. Your interest in princes has always been minimal. When it comes to fair princesses, though, well, that is a different matter altogether, isn't it? Pleasantly you ask the princess whose love it is she wishes to court, a query which makes the princess giggle. Oh, dear one, who else would I be thinking of? Naturally, I was thinking of you. Naturally. She says it so easily, as though you ought to be suspected it as much, and indeed part of you did. You wanted to believe. Yet part of you was afraid to. You did not want to be arrogant enough to assume that the princess might care for your affections. You begin to blush, your cheeks almost as red as the roses, while the princess laughs. She laughs and she laughs and she laughs, her voice clear and sweet like a nightingale's song, as though you are the funniest thing she has ever seen. You never liked being laughed at when you dwelt within the walls of the conservatory, but it is different with her. You have not known her for all that long, but you are already entranced by her, ensnared. She has you wrapped around her little finger. Oh my! The princess's laughter tapers off into a series of giggles as, smiling, she wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. That was quite the amusing diversion, but I've just had an idea. You look at the princess curiously. What idea? You can't tell? You cannot even begin to guess. I just thought that all this watching me must be boring you, the princess said, tossing the rose stripped stem carelessly to the ground. You should give it a try. Please do. It'll be fun. The princess retrieves a second rose. From the bushes, deftly snapping it between her fingers, and offers it to you. I want to see what fate has in store for you too. You smile at the princess, touched by her enthusiasm. Indulging in childish games like this might not be the best use of your time. But the princess looks so very determined you would not wish to hurt her. What could be the harm, really, in consenting? The only real casualty of this game will be the one singular rose, the rose that the princess is holding towards you. You reach out meaning to accept the princess's offering, but, oh no! You are clumsy, and you seize the stem of the rose with a touch. Too much strength. The head of the rose might be pretty, but there is more to a rose than its bright red flowers. Roses have thorns too. In fact, you are now being painfully reminded of. The pain flares through your fingers and you gasp. You take a step back, the hem of your skirt swishing around your ankles. Your fingers stinging. And so are your eyes. You ought to have been more careful. Why were you so stupid? You poor dear, you're bleeding. The princess exclaims, alarmed. Then she frowns. This is all my fault. If I had not suggested this to the game, this never would have happened. Please, let me take care of you. And how is she going to do that? Perhaps she means to take a handkerchief from her pocket, with which she might staunch your wound. Princesses tend to carry handkerchiefs around with them, don't they? Silken ones? How else would they give brave knights tokens of their gratitude, once these aforementioned knights have successfully slain dragons? Princesses can hardly dispense kisses as favors. It simply is not done. That is what you've always thought, but please hold still. This might sting a little bit. Are you about to get out a bottle of rubbing alcohol? The princess is anything but ordinary. Rather than take a handkerchief out of her pocket, she instead encloses her white, slender fingers around her hand. Oh, she has healing magic. Carefully, as though she is holding a precious object. She raises your hand, her eyes affixed all the while on the beads of startlingly crimson blood which are oozing luridly from your wound. She licks her lower lip. Then she dips her head. But you're rose red. but your blood is redder. She parts her mouth, and with a soft sigh, which borders on the sensuous, she slips your injured digit between her teeth. So much her princess is not dispensing kisses as tokens of appreciation. This might not be a conventional kiss, but feels intimate regardless, almost startlingly so. The princess's lips, which are as red as any rose, are enclosed around your index finger. You can feel the warmth of the princess's mouth about your skin and the wetness of it. These sensations make your whole body quake. You did not expect this. Tremulously, in a voice which wavers, you ask the princess what it is she's doing. Oh, the princess's glance is up at you, her mouth still enclosed around your finger. Didn't I tell you? I'm trying to stop the bleeding. I don't think it works that way. Yes, you gathered as much, but is there a problem? I'm not making you uncomfortable, am I? It is not, you say, that she is making you uncomfortable per se, but this is rather awkward. You did not expect it, that is all. And she is not worried that this is unhygienic? Unhygienic? The princess blinks. She is a very picture of innocence, which is funny, really, given your finger is still nestled against her tongue. I don't know what you mean by that exactly. But I've heard this is the best way to take care of cuts. My nursemaid used to do this for me when I was a child. It's what you're supposed to do. And, you ask, your voice catching your throat, did her nursemaid keep staunching her wounds with her mouth when she grew older? Well, no. But my nursemaid was dismissed when I was 8 years old. That's the normal way of things. I had my lady's maids to look after me then. How very interesting. And did they ever clean her wounds like this? No, the princess says, smiling mischievously, because I'm not clumsy enough to cut myself, silly. Now, that was quite the sharp retort. You did not expect it. Your face turns even redder, if such a thing is possible, though this might perhaps be to your benefit. With some luck, all of your blood will flow to your face rather than to your finger, and your bleeding will stop. Has it stopped? Your injury was not a deep one. There should be no need for the princess to keep suckling, but she still is. You are not accustomed to intimacy of this nature. It is making your heart flutter. If the princess knew what her mouth was doing to you, you are sure she would not be so very familiar. You feel quietly, crushingly confident that she would scorn you for your feelings and deem them unnatural. It would not be the first time. At this point, you should be used to rejection. It still stings, though. It stings much more than any thorn on any rose ever could. The days pass, following your misadventures in the rose garden in a relaxed, unhurried sort of manner. Your mad dash through the forest is beginning to feel like a distant memory, so much so you can scarcely recall the raw, naked fear you once felt as you fled for your life. There is no running to be had while you're working for the princess. You would have nowhere else to run to, and in any event, there is no longer any reason to run. The shadows which once tormented you, at long last, began to recede. You can scarcely recall as you lay down in your bed the petty cruelties you were subjected to by your classmates at the conservatoire. they no longer matter. Your attention is focused not upon yourself, but upon the princess. The more time you expend with her, the more you come to care for her. You have become quite besotted with her, but you are yet to realize it. Well, I never. How very ignorant can one girl be of her own feelings? The princess is not half so ignorant as you are, though, despite having spent her whole life within the palace walls. The weight of her own feelings are not unknown to her, and during one stormy night she chooses to make them known to you. You are in the princess's chambers, perhaps later than you ought to be, later than is strictly appropriate. It is dark outside, and there is little save the light of the moon to alleviate it. That, and the fire which crackles in the grate. You have only just finished stoking that very fire, and now you rise. You look to the princess who's lying at her bed, and you bid her good night, as you have many nights past. With a neat curtsy you turn to leave, but the princess's plaintive voice gives you pause. Wait, dear one, do not go. Not just yet. Perplexed, you pause, then look back at the princess. Though she is smiling, her expression is unusually wan. Is she all right? Oh, I'm sure I'll be fine. It's just nights like this, which make me feel a little out of sorts. And what, you ask, does she mean by that? Only that it is very cold and very dark. And it is very windy besides. I'm afraid there will be a storm later. It was awfully cloudy earlier when we went out for our walk. Cuddles during a rainstorm are awesome. Princess is not mistaken about that. The sky, when the pair of you promenaded about the gardens earlier, was gray and steely. The wind bitingly cold. You can hear the wind rattling mournfully against the panes in the princess's bedchamber. The princess's castle is built of stone, and it is well fortified, but even with the fire, it is rather cold. You do not like to think of how much chillier by comparison it will be in your humble bedchamber, which is not fortunate enough to have its own fireplace. It might sound childish, but I've always found it hard to sleep on stormy nights like this. They make me feel uncomfortable. You look at the princess with no small degree of sympathy. No longer clad in her bright red dress, she looks oddly, uncommonly vulnerable. Will she really be all right, all alone, in her oversized bed, in her high-ceilinged bedchamber? That is something that does lend itself to both trusting somebody and to feeling more romantically, interested in somebody, is that being able to be vulnerable with that person and that person being able to be vulnerable with you. It is silly of you to contemplate such a query. Why would she not be all right? There is nobody in the castle to hurt her, but still you fret for her. As her lady's maid, it is your job to fret for her. You would never want your mistress to feel unhappy. You ask the princess what it is she would have you do, and the princess perks up at this, pleased, perhaps that you are taking the initiative? I wouldn't like to take up too much of your time when it is so very late, but would you mind sitting with me a little while longer and reading to me, provided that you can, of course? This is a fair enough question, but your pride bristles regardless. Hastily you reassure the princess that yes, of course you could read. You were a poor student in many aspects of the conservatoire, but you had something of a gift when it came to the literary arts. Reading books is all you have ever been good at. Oh, I see. I suppose I should have known. You're so incredible. I sometimes wonder if there is anything you can't do, hee. The princess's high praises make you flush. Awkwardly, you look away. Being able to read, you assure her, is not such a great feat. Perhaps it isn't where you hail from, but it is here. Very few of my old servants could read, and they certainly couldn't read the books that I like. Why do you have a Necronomicon? This piques your interest. Intrigued, you ask the princess what books exactly she likes. Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm fond of fairy tales, you see. Old ones, from centuries past. I have a collection here of them. The princess says, indicating a book on her bedside table, as thick as a mortuary slab. The book is old, though, and the bindings are weak, the pages brittle, and the writing woefully old-fashioned. I didn't trust any of my past servants with that book, but I think you would do a good job breathing life into those old stories. Would you mind reading to me for just a brief while, please, dear one? Oh, please. The princess's request seems a simple one expressed sweetly, so much so you see no reason to refuse her. You take a seat beside the princess upon her luxurious bed, which sinks beneath your weight. Then you retrieve the leather-bound book, which is resting upon her bedside table, and spread it open. The pages of the book are very brittle, like the princess said, and the bindings of the book are loose. You can feel in the heft of the book's manifold pages the weight of the ages concealed within it. How old is this book? Perhaps it is as old as the castle in which it resides. It is with a quiet voice, hesitant at first, that you begin to read to the princess a tale of courtly love, which culminates in a lavish wedding ceremony. All the while as you read, the princess listens to you, enraptured, hanging, or so it seems, upon your every word. Once you reach the final phrase embossed upon the pages of this aged tome, and they live happily ever after, the princess sighs as though this tale has touched her very soul. Would that there were a handsome prince to marry me, she says somberly, or better yet, a beautiful princess. At this point, I think I would even settle for a lowly scullery maid. You blush at this idle remark and mumble softly that this would not be proper. The storm outside is still squalling, and you have never been one to raise your voice. You do not expect, therefore, that the princess will overhear you, but she does. She observes you, your head resting against her pillows, and says, "And what would be the problem with that? As my maid, shouldn't my happiness come before any silly ideas of propriety?" "Well, of course," you reply, "but for a princess to marry a scullery maid." "You're still hung up on that?" The princess titters. "Don't pay it too much heed. I'm just talking to myself. As if anything like that would ever happen, when there is no priest around who would officiate it. You think there are greater issues with the princess's plan than the lack of a priest. Though she does present a good point, the castle is an empty one. Even if the princess were to find somebody that she loves, there would be nobody to make such a wedding official. You cannot help but feel that you have avoided a good deal of nuisance. But by the same token, do you not feel a touch disappointed? Well, never mind." "That was a nice story," the princess says, "but I'm not sleepy yet, and it's still storming outside. Won't you read me one more?" "You would not mind," you reply, "but it is getting late. You really ought to return to your own chamber." "I know, but can't you find your heart to read one more story to me, just one? You can choose a short one. I won't complain." "That's not the problem, my dear princess. It's that, while I enjoy reading, it's making me sleepy. If I keep reading you stories, I might just fall asleep next to you." You have some doubts about that, but as before, you cannot resist the princess's demands. It is not, you think, because she is a princess, though, That is, of course, a part of it, but because she is, well, radiant. You would not, you think, as you turn to the next story, recounted in this aged compendium, want to upset her. You would rather cut out your own tongue. You read another story to the princess, which is of a similar vein to the last, impossible adventures culminating, at their close, in a happy marriage. This tale delights the princess, just as much as the tale you read prior, and she begs for another, then another. One-bedroom story soon turns to 5, and even then when the candles which flicker on the princess's bed side are close to guttering out, the princess is not satisfied. Like a grasping, greedy child, she has never heard of moderation. When she wants something, she seeks to glut herself with it, her only request that of more. If she were less comely, perhaps her inability to adhere to the word no would be seen as a character defect. The princess is very comely, however, and so, when she makes her next request, you almost agree offhand without considering the ramifications. I think I could go to sleep now, but the storm is still raging. I feel lonely on my own in this big, empty bed, so... I know, the princess's eyes light up like the night sky in a thunderstorm. Why don't you sleep with me? You stare at the princess, your eyes wide as goose eggs. Slowly you blink. Then just as slowly you bid her to repeat yourself. Didn't you hear me? The princess giggles. Maybe you've been so busy cleaning up after me you've neglected to clean out your own ears. I said, dear one, would you like to sleep with me? If that is the question she truly means to ask, then it is an easy enough one to answer. Of course you would like to sleep with her. It would be an honor. But would it really be all right for you to accept such an invitation? It must be a gross breach of protocol, surely, for a lowly domestic such as yourself to share a bed with a princess. You sit upon the princess's bedside, fretting while she observes you with wide, beseeching eyes. She is waiting. Well, what's the matter, dear one? Why do you tarry so? Could it be... The princess's lower lip begins to tremble. Don't you want to lie with me after all? The sorrow present in the princess's voice and in her face makes you feel awfully guilty. Hurriedly you console her. You tell her in no uncertain terms that if she truly wishes to partake in your company, then you have no qualms of it. Why would you? Well then, don't just stand there dilly-dallying, silly. Come and join me. Come. And that is what you do, after returning briefly to your own chamber to change your nightgown. Once dressed, you waste no time in returning to your impetuous princess's side. She is already lying in her glorious 4-poster bed, awaiting your return as though you were a knight-errant gone away to slay some wicked dragon. The princess giggles when she sees you. In your haste to change, you have made a hash of the buttons, and she bids you to come closer. Let me fix that for you, silly. Oh no, you say, I couldn't possibly do that. I am but a servant, after all. Should it not be your job to dress her? Maybe so, the princess says, but I don't mind a bit of a role reversal. It makes things more fun, hee-hee. You try a few more refutations, but in vain. The princess summarily discards all of them. Quite at the princess's mercy. She might even be more stubborn than you are. You capitulate to her demands. You let the princess unbutton the front of your nighty dress and then rebutton them, so the fabric of your plain gown is drawn shut. Satisfied with her handiwork, she has very elegant hands. The princess draws back and pats the mattress beside her. Now, come in. It must be horribly cold out there, but these sheets are warm. Coyly the princess smiles, and so am I. You feel warm yourself as you slide into bed beside the princess. Your face is as red as the gown the princess so often wears, as red as the roses in the castle's grounds. All the while your heart is fluttering. Does the princess know what an effect she is having on you? Surely she must. How could any woman be so blind? "There," the princess exclaims, once your body is lying beside hers. "That is much better. Do you feel cozy now, dear one?" You swallow, and with a shaky voice you reassure her. "Yes, you are cozy. You are quite cozy indeed." "Very good. The storm might be raging outdoors, but it can't get us here. I know. When I'm with you, I'll be safe." It's strange, but the princess reaches out and takes your hand in hers, twining your fingers together like a chain. "When I'm with you, I feel so very light. It's as though nothing in the world can hurt me. You make me feel safe, so I want to make you feel safe too. I'll take very, very good care of you. I promise." You return a smile with one of your own, touched by her thoughtfulness, though something about her promise does make you wonder, should it not be your job to look after her as a domestic? "In a way," the princess replies after a pause, "but you've been taking good care of me already. Now I need to return the favor." As a princess, I'm supposed to look after my vassals. It's all part of the job description, hee. You were unaware that a princess came with a job description. You thought the profession came with far fewer written responsibilities and far fewer forms to sign than, say, becoming a doctor, or an astrophysicist, or a mathematics professor. You tell the princess this sleepily, and she laughs. "You do say some funny things, dear one. I think you must be tired. Rest your head. You've been working so hard. I think you deserve it." "Yes, you think, only half conscious. You think you deserve it too. You have been working hard for a long time. Have been running for even longer, but now, at long last, you feel like you can let your fears go. Your eyelids begin to droop, your body beleaguered by a sudden, all-consuming fatigue. And in a quiet, understated sort of way, your consciousness is conveyed to Morpheus's kingdom.